Get to some questions, boys, from Jim. Zaf, how do we change the 7-tackle set rule so it only applies to people deliberately kicking the ball dead?
That's your mate.
And this is my rule change too.
That's your burner account.
That's not my burner account.
That is your burner account.
But Jim Zaf, if you've been listening,
Jimmy Zaf, the game's got bigger things to worry about than this rubbish
Get rid of 7 tackles.
I love how. So what happens is the questions come in, and Mick Carianis is our executive producer of the show, and so he vets them, but also categorises them and lists them in ranking order. And he's gone with his rule first.
That's the most important question we've ever had. This game support.
Jim Zaf, I've said before. And anyone else is listening, don't ring in, don't email, don't text questions about rule changes unless it's about the disruptor.
Hey Dave, what about how Mick says it's getting support? He's your mate. You've got him to send that in.
I didn't get him.
I'm only talking about the disruptor.
You're at a Barbie, your house, you send to Jimmy Zaf, send in an email to us and I'll put it on, put it on
disruptor questions only.
A person called
Opinion. Disruptor's gone. Have you noticed that?
Oh, it has.
Yeah.
With South's current
That's your campaign.
Yes.
With South's current resurgence, can we lay blame for their form slump slowly on JD's feet?
Oh.
He left, they improved.
No, that's...
No, they've got players back.
They got players back, does help.
Yeah.
Ben Hornby's doing a great job, but unfair to lump it all on.
Yeah, it's not JD's fault.
On JD. No. Sirij wants to know...
Sewage.
Hey guys, would you rather your state win in State of Origin or your club win in a Premiership?
Would you rather
I'm intrigued
state winning, club winning?
Well, I know, mate.
Premiership every day of the week.
That's what this guy's going to say. Well, that's why you don't get Origin.
Origin every day of the week. Every day.
So you don't want the Broncos to win the comp?
I'd rather win Origin.
Do not want
it's been a while. You've forgotten what it's like to win a comp.
So hang on. So if Queensland win this year's Origin series,
you're going to go off.
I'd rather win Origin.
You're going to party for a week.
You know why? Because we are Queenslanders.
Oh, God.
Billy.
Do we have to play the Billy clip?
Every discussion post Queensland winning this series, when the Broncos come up, right, about winning comps, and just let us know that you don't care.
No, it's not that I don't care.
Yes, you do.
The question was, what's your preference?
Yep.
And for a Queenslander, it's always winning Origin.
I don't think it's for everyone.
But your retort, after winning this year's series... Are
we going to win this year's series?
Well, this is what's happening.
Hello.
If you win the series...
You're honest, Dave.
Right?
Dave's on board.
No. If you win this series, your retort should be, it doesn't matter if the Broncos don't win this year's comp, because we've won the series.
Yeah.
That's you are preference. Boring, mate.
I'm definitely team Premiership.
Of course you are, because you don't get Origin.
Easily. Why can't I have both? John T wants to know, why would a Perth JV partnership work when the Dragons and St George Illawarra has shown they don't work? Both clubs have controversy through their history together. Dolphins have shown standalone is the way to go.
Spot on, John T.
Dragons won a comp.
When? In 2010?
So did the Tigers.
They won a comp, so the Tigers.
Mate, it's been a mess ever since. Both joint ventures have been a mess. Jonty is absolutely spot on. They do not work. You cannot force marriages. Rudy knows this. No, he doesn't. I'm only joking.
But that's
couldn't be happier.
That's to your point around North Sydney and Perth. I think the Jets work because the Jets aren't asking for anything.
Yeah.
They're bringing stuff to the table.
Yeah.
And that I think it's going to be a tough sell.
I reckon the issue with the other, you're right. I think the issue is the Dragons and Tigers. They're both sort of 50. Oh no, the Tigers is more western suburbs than Balmain.
Well, the Dragons try to be 50-50 despite the fact Steelers not having any money.
Yeah.
Well, it started all Dragons, and it's
slowly infiltrated despite the fact the Dragon St George had all the money.
Yep.
Steelers, they were covering the Steelers' debts and the like. Now with Wynn there.
Wynn's got all the money.
Really, St George Leagues Club should have just bought the Steelers share out. Anyway, that's another debate.
The Perth Bears, I mean, this is part of the issue with the Perth Bears. The Bears want too much.
Yeah.
And they're actually not bringing a whole lot to the table other than a name and a lot of fans,
they're bringing history
right? A lot of fans.
and, a fan base and the like, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
but
the
Perth
Jets
don't need them. They don't need them. No. The Bears need Perth. Perth don't need the Bears.
And this is why PNG hopped off the Bears bus straight away because they're like, this is all too much. We don't need you guys. Yeah. So that's where the Jets are bringing but not taking.
Yes.
So Jonty, you're 100% right. It's going to be very interesting.
Can I, Jonty, when I keep going, I won't tell a story.
Okay, good.
Do you remember Jonty Rhodes, the cricketer?
Yeah.
People used to think I looked like him.
Could you field like him?
Mate, I was magnificent.
How could you see the ball? Email.
Exactly.
We've got email.
Have you had a contact lenses, pal, or glasses? Hello.
Jonty Rhodes.
All right, these are some emails. I've got lots of emails this week, so thank you for that. Ivan wants to know, Just wondering why there's been no talk about Mal Meninga for the Parramatta coaching job. Is he not interested in coaching in the NRL? I think
that all went pear-shaped when Mal was connected to the Souths gig.
Yeah.
Which was only a short-term stint, right? I don't think Mal's going to be... Mal's not an NRL head coach anymore. That South stint appealed because it was only going to be for the rest of the year, and obviously he'd come at something like that, but not an NRL head coach. So that's why he's not linked there, and he's very happy coaching the Kangaroos.
Yep.
All right, so this was a long email, so I've just paraphrased this from Matt. He's been an Eels fan for 42 years, member for 25 years. Wow. If the bean counters at the Eels club, he's been listening to Hoops, old Matt.
Bankers and bean counters.
Think sacking Brad Arthur is a solution to the dramas. They aren't too smart. How do the current board keep their jobs? The fans and members had enough. They are laughing stock of the NRL. I'm thinking of getting rid of my memberships for me and my 3 kids. Well, Matt, don't do that.
Oh, Matt, come on,
mate.
Matty, stay strong.
Stay strong, mate. Good times are coming.
Solid, brother.
I think getting rid of, Brad being sacked was the right decision. And now they're on a path to finding someone else. And I'll judge these guys on who they appoint next, because Brad was already there when most of the current management structure came in. So, Matt, be patient and have some faith. I've got some faith in the guys making the decisions there.
Hey, Matty, I just take this into account. I think your question is speaking to you delaying the inevitable. Brad Arthur wasn't going to be the coach at the Parramatta Eels in 2026. And so, therefore, the Parramatta board thought, if that's not the case, and given the amount of players off contract, on contract, and when you need to make decisions on players' careers, they believed it was better to go now, knowing that he wasn't going to be there much longer. So rip the Band-Aid off, get it done, and start this process for the future right now. And yes, it's painful. And yes, I could understand why Brad feels like that they went too early, given the amount of injured players that were on the sideline at the time of his sacking. But it honestly, I think deep down in Brad's mind, he knew that he wasn't going to be there potentially even next year. So I think it's a case of getting the train rolling now instead of delaying it another 12 to 18 months.
All right, interesting question here from Chris. The dominance of the Storm and the Roosters for the past decade, in my opinion, comes down to stability at the head coaching role. So both Robinson and Bellamy have been far less ambitious for new challenges than the previous generation was. In your opinion, what type of coach is more successful? Those like Robinson or Bennett, who have Robinson and Bellamy, or those who have sustained success in a long time, or those who have gone for different clubs and brought success like Bennett? It's interesting, right? Where do we rank? Because I think Wayne ticks both boxes, okay? Because he's had success at Broncos for 20 years.
For a long time,
won a comp at the Dragons.
Yep. Wayne's the greatest coach in the game's history.
In Newcastle got him to a prelim and then it fell apart, and now the Dolphins, if they make the 8 this year, it's been an awesome success.
He's the best, right? I don't necessarily think he's the best right now, but I think he's been, if you look over someone's career, he's been the best coach in terms of his career. But I think right now, Craig and Robbo, you could argue, Ivan are potentially better coaches than him right now.
I believe Wayne's the best coach we've seen. And I say that because of everything that Chris is talking about, how he has moved around to different clubs, found success at those clubs. Not every club. The Knights was a bit of a battle, but he did take them to the finals. And I think that's the greatest test of a coach, to adjust at a new environment. I'm a massive fan of Craig Bellamy. I think he's a champion fella and clearly an outstanding coach. However, I can't get away from the fact that down in Melbourne, they are isolated. They are out of the spotlight. Craig can run his own race as far as training without any issue. No speculation of this player, that player's injury. And it's one of the major reasons he didn't go to the Brisbane Broncos, because he would have been coaching under a spotlight. And I think that's a major factor when you actually, you think about every little miniature factor that makes up coaching. To do it in an environment where you can just do it on your own time, I think that helps your cause, and that's where Craig has at Melbourne. Robbo has had a hugely supportive board and financially savvy leader in Nick Politis to have a strong roster every single year.
I think with the reason Wayne is the greatest is because of the reasons that Chris mentions. The fact that how do we judge it? I think there's something that can be said for Craig and Lane doing it for 20 years. If that's harder trying to stay relevant at the one club because you can cherry pick. You can go to another club and just try and implement the same things, and there's a freshness to that anyway. But to stay fresh at the one place. But Wayne's been able to do that plus have success elsewhere. And if he comes out and wins a comp at South Sydney, like no one's won a comp as a coach at 3 clubs, right? That would be the ultimate greatest.
The Clint
Eastwood clip. All right, last question, boys. At what point, from Josh, at what point does the NRL need to make sure that coaches aren't taking the mickey when naming the team? Anthony Seibold named Tommy Talau on the wing but played him in the halves. Kane Lorden at halfback, played him in the back row. Jackson Barlow at centre, played him on the wing, all the blah, blah, blah. What's the difference in naming your front rowers on the wing at this point? I don't have an issue with it. Like, it's a bit of... Like, if it became a thing where every week they'll just name different players in different positions. But I actually don't mind those games a little bit. Yeah. Where it's not clear. Like,
no one picked up that Tommy Talau was playing in the halves, except you, buddy, on the sideline. You picked it up.
Well, it was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
It was quite obvious.
I bumped into Siebes down at Manly yesterday, and he said, Tommy actually played schoolboys in
it was a surprise that he played.
Yeah.
That he started.
There was a bit of mail going around,
you had
actually.
The mail, So I was a little bit like I had the head start because you'd mentioned the fact that it might happen. Yeah. And then when I was doing sideline, I saw it. Yeah. I watched for it, right? But I don't have an issue with any issue, boys.
Look, I don't think it's rife. That's
the thing.
If they were taking the mickey, there'd be an issue. But I mean, it's
like
a
if
rarity.
he's naming Jake Trbojevic on the wing, you'd be like, what's going on? Yeah. Right? But the fact that there was such an unknown about that side, I think it works in that instance. Yep. But if it becomes a weekly thing, if it happens once or twice, you actually don't mind it.
And Josh, to be fair, mate, you're using an example during the State of Origin period where Manly had a huge influence on both teams. Yeah. And, their changes were never going to be clear anyway. And given their current injury crisis, as I said, it's not rife throughout the game. Certainly coaches do it. And obviously the impact on gambling. And when you're having a bet on a game, you want to get as close to the team that runs out. So... If it was rife throughout the game, I'd have an issue with it.
But Josh, we're with you, just not yet. Yeah. If it becomes a trend, then we'd definitely jump across it.